Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And in China news, China has been infiltrating U.S. critical infrastructure. Now, this may not seem like news to a lot of you, but quite frankly, we didn't know the depth and the scope, and now we're getting some insight into this thanks to a new report by the Washington Post. But ABC had a really concise write-up, so I'm cribbing from them. And here's what's going on. China has strengthened their ability to disrupt U.S. infrastructure systems over the past year, according to a new report. Now, hackers associated with the Chinese People's Liberation Army infiltrated computer systems of approximately 24 critical units. Now, those entities include a Hawaiian water utility, a West Coast port, and oil and gas pipelines, plural. Now, basically, their cyber soldiers also victimize foreign electrical systems as well. Now, according to Brandon Wales, who's the executive director over at CISA, basically, he's mentioning that China's strategies indicate that it will try to bar the United States from influencing Asian conflicts, like a potential Chinese invasion of Taiwan, or sow chaos among American communities during emergency periods, meaning we're going through an emergency or there's a global crisis, and they're trying to slam the brakes on us because now they've just created some kind of disaster, in some kind of critical infrastructure that now requires our direct attention, which for the record, I believe would be an act of war. And to quote Mr. Wales, it is very clear that Chinese attempts to compromise critical infrastructure are in part to pre-position themselves to be able to disrupt or destroy that critical infrastructure in the event of a conflict. There you go. Now, according to Joe McReynolds, the China Security Studies Fellow at the Jamestown Foundation, basically he's mentioning that the hackers' attention on Hawaii is suggesting that China wants to make it difficult for the United States to ship troops and equipment to Taiwan should that conflict arise. If you think about it, Hawaii is one of our most forward and largest military and naval bases in the Pacific, given that one, it's a state, and two, it's in the middle of the ocean. So obviously that is a huge thing. Now, the office basically of the Director for the National Intelligence said, and I quote, "If Beijing feared a major conflict with the United States were imminent, it almost certainly would consider undertaking aggressive cyber operations against U.S. homeland critical infrastructure and military assets worldwide." Now, in August, if you recall, basically Chinese hackers, basically PLA hackers, tried to infiltrate the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, which operates the state's electrical grid. Now, if you remember Texas a couple of years ago, basically their grid failed in harsh weather, et cetera, leaving many stranded. People died. It was a huge mess. And so breaking into that to basically shut down the second largest state geographically in the United States with one of the largest populations of the states would obviously be a very critical thing because without electricity, nothing runs. Now, in 2012, if you recall, PLA hackers collected data regarding industrial control systems from Telvent, whose software operated North American gas pipelines. If you also recall, back in 2013 or so, we found out that Chinese intelligence had broken into the White House and were actually reading emails from the Obama administration. Obviously, that's a huge thing. And on top of it, the military agent's secrecy points to their intentions basically in the future. The attackers attempted to remain anonymous as they were basically going through that Telvent attack back in 2012, which gave us good indicators. They were remaining anonymous by basically using devices like internet routers to reach their victims. And so this would enable basically their soldiers, essentially their cyber soldiers, to steal employee credentials and then return basically to the systems later. So they have a lot of different ways of evading surveillance, evading intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems, as do many sophisticated attacking groups around the world. But this is a huge problem. And if we are seeing this continuously escalating aggression from a foreign government, it really requires the United States to respond. Now, I'm not saying respond in kind. I'm not saying do a tit for tat here, but this has to be addressed publicly beyond simply having an article in the Washington Post that a few of us are going to read, or, if you're listening to this or watching this, in any which way, shape, or form, now you're informed. But most of the planet isn't, and most of the United States is not and does not understand the threat that not just China but other foreign intelligence agencies and foreign governments pose to the United States. It's very important that we get on the same page here, and so that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.